Love was never spoken of in our house. It was never showed. I remember one incident when I was 2. I was crying out for my mom. My father said that I reminded him of my biological father, and he stuck my feet in boiling hot water. I remember going to the ER, and I remember the smell, and we had to pop the boils on my feet. My stepfather, he was just very abusive, controlling, emotionally and physically abusive. He spent a lot of my days depressed and suicidal. He would tell me that I was a whore, that I was dirty, that I was stupid, that I was not smart, that you could never trust women. Although we went to church, it was still so hard at home. Pain from emotional and physical and sexual abuse was just too much for me to handle. So I learned to check out, to go numb. That is when the fantasizing started. It was a place that I could go, and I went to feel good. And at that time is when things got twisted, and everything that my father told me I was is what I became in those fantasies. My parents were involved in a very religious, even possible cult. And when I spoke up about it, that's when I was disowned. I stayed in abandoned houses, I stayed in parks, I stayed at parties all weekend long. I would stay with men that were like 25, 30 years old, and I was only 14 years old. I just stayed up all night on buses and rode the bus all night long. I stayed at some shelters, just did whatever I could. I've never been introduced to drugs or alcohol before that time, and this is where I had some experience with that. And partied. At 15 years old, I met my first son's dad and moved in with him, and that's when I became pregnant with my first child. I was on my own and a baby, and I realized that most of my problems at that time stemmed from not having enough money. My first job at the age of 18 was being a waitress at a strip club. Sex sells, and I had the goods. And I realized that men wanted me, and even though I didn't want them, I finally felt like I was in control and I was on top. Three children by the time I was 21, and I felt like most moms do, that we needed to do whatever I needed to do in order to provide for my family. Never did I realize, though, that it would end up being a 17-year career. There were times that I quit, and it was always something that I would go back to, either because of hard times, fell on hard times, or homelessness, abusive relationships that I needed to get out of, or just because it was comfortable to go back to what I felt I was born to do. When I was working in the strip clubs, I would get, a lot of us girls would get these bags. I just thought, like, well, who would do this? Who would put all these bags together for us? You know, we'd get out would get out the makeup, and it was very, very, very thoughtful. When I got tired of being objectified, being used, abused, bartered, traded, all for someone else's pleasure, all for the sake of money, I decided to reach out to a church. That was something that was pretty difficult for me. I felt so far away from who I was as a little girl. So I started doing some research online and looked at churches, and I found one that I really resonated with, and I decided to look at where they put their time. So I looked at their ministries, and I came across their strip club ministry. It said that we're a group of women who put together gift bags, and we drop them off at the strip clubs just to let these women know that they are not abandoned, that they're loved, and just to show them the love of Jesus. And at that point, this overwhelming sense of love just came over me right then and there, and just tears from just a very, very deep part of my soul just came out. And it was a feeling that I had been searching for all along. I called, made the phone call, and got hooked up with that ministry. And it was a long road to recovery and healing. I had so much pain throughout my whole life, and I used whatever I could to numb that pain. All these addictions I had, not only were they just like from pills and alcohol, which I was in denial about, I realized my addiction to money, addiction to my sexual addictions, and then just really started to realize why I had those addictions, just because I felt so broken. And through all the pain of all my life that I was feeling, I used all those addictions to cover that pain. Whatever I used or whatever I found, it was never ever enough. It just seemed like that hole got deeper and deeper and deeper. All of those old identities and all those old lies that were told to me, they all fell off when I was poured into by God's truths, by His promises, and who He told me I was. I had a renewed sense of identity. I was just told constantly by His people just that I was beautiful, I was cherished, I was a treasure, and that I had a purpose. I started becoming a little girl again, and that tough girl persona kind of fell off, and I was a little girl again. He brought me back to life, because I literally felt dead inside. The closer I got to Him, I started realizing who I was, that I had a purpose, and I was meant to love Him. Now I just feel I've overcome so much, and I'm an overcomer because of Him. I'm victorious, and even though it's hard to go back to my past and to share that with people, I just feel that through my testimony, I'm victorious and able to help other people overcome also through the help and through the love of our Savior. I'm Raquel Goodwin, and Jesus is on demand.